go from there. So before hiring a birth photographer, what were your initial thoughts or concerns, and how did those change after the experience?
Yeah, so initially I was very opposed to the idea of hiring a birth photographer.
Emphasis on the very.
Yeah, mainly just because, it's like a really private moment. And I didn't want somebody here that I didn't know. I wanted it to just be us. And, come on, buddy. And I was a little concerned that, a birth photographer might get in the way. But I ended up agreeing to it because I saw how much it meant to you. Do you want to help me out?
I think he knows he's on camera.
I saw how much it meant to Heather. She mentioned that if there was a birth photographer here, she could be stronger, actually. It's kind of like accountability.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, natural birth is a really big deal. Natural birth is a really big deal. So I was like, if this is something I can do to help her out, to make it a little easier, I agreed to do it. And looking back, I'm really glad we did, because having those photos of like his first moments coming into this world is pretty amazing. It's priceless. And all my concerns, they didn't really materialize at all, because you were very, honestly, I didn't even know you were here half the time.
You're like a fly on the wall.
Yeah. And, any interactions that we had with you, felt very comfortable. It felt like we already knew you. So, I'm glad we did it. I would do it again.
And that was your first time meeting her, too.
Yeah. We hadn't met until you showed up that night, which, that's why I was, kind of opposed to it. But, like I said, looking back, I would do it again.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Let's see. Can you describe a favorite moment or feeling from the birth photos that made you especially grateful to have had those captured?
I'm trying to think, because there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
I guess my favorite would be the photos of him, right after he came out with us, all three of us.
Knowing that was getting captured.
Yeah.
And that I feel or even in a hospital, or just even a home birth, you're kind of caught in the moment, and you're not thinking, for him, he wouldn't think to pull out a camera or take a picture. And then the midwives are busy, or the doctors are busy. So knowing that someone was there dedicated to that moment, it's okay, I'm not going to miss out on this later on. I'm able to be present and relive it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I still look back at the pictures still to this day.
I know. I have so many favorites of my own from your birth. I'm it makes me cry.
So, and talking about it, there was the moment that you got nervous during birth when his head was coming out.
Oh, yeah.
And I was whatever it was he said it was pointy.
Yeah,
and it made him nervous.
Really pointy, and it was jagged, and I was like, oh my goodness.
You hadn't seen images
I knew, yes, I had, we went to the birth classes, and I knew that their head had to conform, but I was like, there's no way you can do it that much and everything be okay. That does not look natural at all.
And I think Layla saw him get nervous.
Yeah, I didn't say anything because you still had a lot of work to do, so I was like, I'm not going to worry Heather. But I was just like, whew.
But you actually got a picture of it.
Yeah.
So I was able to go back in the pictures and be like, oh, that's what he was worried about. And kind of just tie. Because I can't see that. But it was nice to be able to go through the pictures and be like, that's what it looked like. And I was like, oh.
Yeah,
okay.
Layla saw my face and she was like, the head has to conform. And I was
and her own little was like,
I was
she's
with that
perfect.
much? I was like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it just immediately
goes back.
Yeah, as soon as his head came out, I was like, wait, I don't even know what I was seeing.
Yeah.
It didn't look like that at all. Yeah, we're happy to have him.
Yeah. Like I said, I still look back at them, and I even showed the ones that are not of, him coming out of the but I've showed people, and they're like, wow, that's kind of incredible. And it's also nice for me to kind of look back at and be like, wow, I really did that.
Yeah.
Because it kind of feels like a dream sometimes. I was present, but I was also in birthland, and I don't fully remember everything. But it's when I see the pictures, it's oh yeah, I remember that, or I remember this, or I don't know. And I think one of my favorite pictures that you took was for me, just like remembering wise, when I was on the toilet smiling at him, because I don't know, I was apologizing for being mean during a contraction, and as soon as it was over, I was like, I'm sorry, and I started smiling. And then another one in that same picture, there's deodorant sitting on the thing, and in between contractions, I thought I was smelling. So I asked for him to get me the deodorant, and I applied deodorant in between contractions. I was like, okay, we're good to go. But it's like little things like that, like just, I don't know, brings you back.
Mm-hmm.